What up, everybody? It's your girl, your favorite little island girl,
Uh,
Abby G, coming at you with the cleaning crew, the fam. We got Freddie G and
what's
we
up?
got
What's up?
Trey.
What's up?
Nah, man, what's up, y'all?
So please, Freddie, let us know about our namesake. What is the cleaning crew?
Yes, the cleaning crew. There's a book out there. If you haven't read it yet, I advise everybody to check into it. It is titled Relentless: From Good to Great to Unstoppable. The author is Tim Grover. This guy is Michael Jordan's trainer. I'm sure you've seen or heard about him. He's also Kobe Bryant's trainer, as well as he was Dwayne Wade's trainer as well. This guy here, this book is one of the best books I've ever read. This book talks about exactly what it has in the title, from going from being good to being great to being unstoppable. And that is broken up from a cooler, a closer, and a cleaner. Most people love the term closer. I used to love the term closer as well. I used to think that was the highest of the highest, the elite level. And when I read this book and he explained the definition of a cleaner, I said, oh, I need to change the way I do everything. And I think we just tie that into our story of just being as great as we can at all times. It's a great word to use to motivate yourself. I use that in my daily work life. I'm sure you guys use it as well in some way, shape, or form. And I use it on the court as well when I go out there and ball when I still get a chance to. So just being a cleaner is what it's all about. I like to look at all three of us as cleaners, and just the term the cleaning crew just fits so perfectly. All three of us are here to clean things up, if you will. The cleaning crew is in full effect.
All right, it's live. It's live. All right, Trey. So Trey, tell us about yourself, bro. What you here for?
I thought we was gonna start it off with you. Put me on spot early. All right, that's cool. It's fine. It is what it is. As you can see, she's moderator, so we gotta go with what she says. So I'm Trey, everybody. AKA Trigger, AKA the Candy Man, AKA Snacks Galore. We got food over here. I'm joking about these AKAs, by the way. Let's see here. A little bit about me. So I was born in Florida, military brat, raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Newport News, Virginia. Then went to George Mason for college, studied IT, and been, I guess, working in the IT field ever since. Loved basketball since, like, God, I don't know how long, 4, 6. Like, it was young. Like, I remember when I got interested into the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. Like, I can tell you the days. It's always been a good thing, and I've always been able to just connect with people based on basketball. So when I got started with my podcast, Get a Bucket, it was kind of nice, like, to be able to express how I feel, to just talk, and it didn't really matter if someone listened. I guess, like, it was nice and therapeutic for me. So, um, and then people, like, some people ended up started listening, and that was even better because now you can have debates or conversations with people. So I I think that's, I guess that might, I guess I'll save it for that, in terms of that's about me, in a nutshell. Overall, just a goofy, energetic basketball head who is like a nerd on the high key. So I think that encapsulates me. So I'm gonna swing it back over to you or Freddie, whichever one of y'all want to do it now. I don't know where we're going with this.
Go ahead, Freddie. You can go.
All right, fair enough. Born and raised Rochester, New York, upstate New York. A lot of people don't know where that is, but they will find out. Rochester has been producing a lot of talent, honestly. And I think in the day and age that we're living in with social media, it's one of those areas that has been able to get that information out there, if you will. Uh, I'm a diehard basketball head. I actually met Trey at George Mason when I was going there for a while, and we met on the basketball court. So when you hear us talk and bicker back and forth, you'll get an idea of what used to happen on the court, calling each other trash and going at each other. That's me. That's where my competitive spirit lies. I can be the most quietest person in the world in a room that requires me to be quiet, but I can't hide my passion for basketball. There's a lot of passion here, and just like Trey, I also have an Instagram page. It's called Leave It to Me Sports Segments. I'm gonna tag that right there, so you can catch us on there. We've had previous debates. It's going to be great going forward, just being able to do this on another level, us doing something together, and then having Abby come in here and join the party to keep us under control, if you will. So, that's me, the basketball guy. I'm also a big football guy, but I think you're going to hear a lot of basketball talk when we get this thing up and going. So,
we can dive into football.
Leave It to Me Sports Segment. You can find him at Get a Bucket Podcast. And you can find Miss Abby G, the moderator, right here as she comes in and brings her background to the table right now.
Thank you, Freddie. I appreciate the love, brother. Okay, family. Like you said, y'all, what's good? My name is Abby G, the realist. I'm just kidding. I'm your favorite little Jamaican gal, you feel me? Okay. Come from Karen, as my family likes to say, but I was really born in Connecticut. So I know all about the area, all about the up north, but luckily, thanks to some miracle of a change. My mother moved down here to the DMV. Been living in Virginia ever since. Now I'm in Nova, literally down the street from my bro Trey over here. But me and Trey, we met, played basketball under his leadership. He was my coach actually for Mason's club girls basketball team. I didn't like him back then, but we mad cool. I really didn't. Homie used to get on my nerves. But now that we're mad cool, I'm here with y'all on the podcast. He used to really burst my bubble, like popped, like annoying as hell. But we making it work. But now I'm here on the podcast with you guys. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm appreciating all the love and wonderfulness I've been getting from you guys. So we here. We live, baby. We live.
You're live. We're live. We're live. So I did want to ask, I know you brought up coaching. What led you to, I'll finish after you two guys, but what led you guys to wanting to do a sports talk show, if you will, or a sports podcast? What got each of you here? Anybody?
So I think overall, I was actually like I got into the podcast game because I had a frat brother, my Cap album side, I had a frat brother who wanted to start one, and we always just talked about basketball. Like, I'm a big Kobe fan. He's a big Bron fan. So Freddie, you already know how that goes. And we were just going back and forth. So he was like, you know what, bro, let's just start a podcast one day. I was like, why not? Let's give it a shot. And we started talking about everything. It was called Tangents. And then it just morphed into Get a Bucket. And that was the reason. Like, I had someone who was cool talking about it. And then we obviously ended up going different ways. But even still, like, after that, I had the decision to make. And it was a lot of fun. Like I said, just being able to debate and share my opinion out there to the world and get a response. It's a nice feeling, because I mean, you watch analysts on TV or wherever, and you're like, you know what, I could do this, or it seems nice, and you learn it's a lot more to it. So just understanding that whole process too is another reason why I did it as well.
For me, honestly, sports is kind of like it's very male oriented in a lot of the sense. A lot of people have like a stereotype that sports is kind of more male focused than it is women. And women out here, we got skill too. You know what I'm saying? I came up, being a Jamaican kid, you know what I'm saying? My mom has always wanted me to do track, soccer, all the typical Jamaican sports. But I fell into basketball once I came to Virginia because all my friends were playing basketball. And I was like, well, I can use my speed in that. I could blaze my own trail and not just follow my mom's footsteps of being a track star. So with basketball, like, because of my background and like loving to have discussions with people about basketball, it's really hard to hear the female's perspective on a lot of things, because not many women are either into sports or they just don't really have a stance on sports, or they just, I like whatever my daddy like. I like whatever my brother like. Like in order for me to, be able to have some sort of say and like with my own opinions and not just what my daddy or my brother like. I like to have those conversations, from a woman's perspective, a very beautiful, feminine perspective.
Indeed you are. Indeed you are. There you are. And I love the passion behind it for sure. Being able to stand up and say, hey, women are just as talented, just as smart, just as brave, courageous, all of the above. In some cases, better, just flat out better. When you put skill for skill, I think we were talking about this off the air, but we're talking about the WNBA, and it's some of the purest form of basketball you will ever find. So absolutely, like you said, it's out there. And these minds, one of my favorite people is Doris Burke. I love Doris Burke. Because of her brilliance. Absolutely. So like I said, it's just all about getting, and Joy Taylor, I love me some Joy Taylor, but I'll say that. Just being able to have that perspective is always important, for sure. So
if you want to learn how to play basketball, ladies and gentlemen, you watch the WNBA.
Period.
They do less traveling. They're actually, you can make a case they're more skilled. It's like you say, it's the purest form of basketball that they have. I mean,
yeah. So
with that though, do you guys believe that women should get paid more than they currently are because of our skill level and because of the practicality of the game of basketball that we are bringing to the public?
Yes, 1,000%.
I do. And they to be fair, they did just get a pay increase, so like they are at least trending upwards.
Like
53, but like it could, it could be more too though. I think they're at like 125 or something like that thousand on the average.
If I want 30,
so it's like that's good. That's no chump change. I think that they can make more. Like Diana Taurasi could be a millionaire. Like
a goat in her own right should absolutely be making more.
So check this out.
Money.
A goat.
Check this out. There's 1 second. So there's about 6 or 7 players in the WNBA that are making $250,000, which I believe was the max going to last year. $215,000 per year. As a start. Now look at Elena Della Don was $215,000, I think, scheduled to make about $234,000 the following year. But looking at from number 1 to like down to number 20, the combined annual salary for them is like $4 million. The top 20 contracts are $40 million. So I don't know if you guys paid attention.
You can compare Steph's contract to the WNBA.
And you think about Steph, $40 million in 1 year. Just an example, that's one player on a roster of 15. And then you just think about the other, let's say 450 players that are on rosters throughout the NBA. That's a ridiculous amount of money. So if you have $40 million to give to one player, who has the lowest salary in the NBA? I think it's probably like $190,000 or something like that. I was looking down. Yeah, there was a name. This guy, Michael Mulder. Yeah, I think it's Michael Mulder or something. Actually, did you know who Brandon Goodwin is? Who's making $500,000, I think, this year for Atlanta, averaging 6 points. They're
that's
one
wild.
of the. Yeah, I won't say worse because I mean he's talented. Yeah, he has to be talented.
We're comparing him to the NBA. We're comparing him to the NBA.
Right. So on that NBA hierarchy, he's all the way down here. He's a pawn in a sense, and he's making $500,000. Scheduled to make, I think, like $1.7 million next year. That's more than the top probably 10 players in the WNBA. Top 10.
That's sickening.
That's
so sickening.
Yeah. Abby hit on this. You can find a way to funnel some of those NBA earnings to the WNBA. You can find a way to do it. Play 34 games on a typical season, shorten playoffs. I get it. And they have a smaller fan base, but WNBA is underneath that NBA umbrella. Why not funnel some of that money to
They have to infiltrate.
Yeah.
They have to infiltrate and bring more publicity to the WNBA. It's not like they don't have the means to do it. They absolutely do. a lot of these big top basketball players, these big top NBA players are not only NBA players, they are influencers as well. So if you're going to influence these young people to start paying attention to women's sports and being like, I'm a great basketball player, but here's my girl DT. Here's my girl, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could always infiltrate these women players in order for them to be more attractive to the public. And that's how you get more money, more generated. But how often though? How often do you see? Like,
I don't know the frequency, but I do know I've seen commercials where like Bradley Beal and someone off the Mystics were like on the team. So I mean, like I've seen it's situations where they're promoting people. I mean, Kobe Bryant, like rest in peace, he was promoting the WNBA real well.
Before Kobe passed, correct. Kobe was, I think he's responsible for the progression.
For that movement. Yeah.
Exactly. For that movement. He started this. He's bringing Gigi to all the games, and he's just talking about how skilled these women are. I personally love I coached basketball for 6 years, and Trey, you coach as well. So I personally love the X's and O's of basketball. I'm huge on intangibles. I'm huge on just honing in on skills as opposed to just the athletic side of it. Of course, seeing people run, jump, and dunk is amazing, but just seeing pure basketball, watching when the Mystics won the championship, watching that series was amazing basketball. Stretches of this team comes down and score, executes, come down, scores, execute, back and forth, great basketball. And the problem is a lot of people aren't seeing that. And what I realized, and you two probably realize the same thing, once the pandemic kind of allowed basketball to come back for us, there were WNBA games on early in the day, or they were coming on the same time as the NBA games. That's kind of where
the broadcasting is conflicting.
Exactly. The same way it is for the reason why the NBA doesn't mind starting their NBA season later now, because football is running. So most people aren't watching basketball for the first few months of the season, unless it's the huge marquee games with maybe a Zion or a LeBron, because football's on. It's football time. Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night is football. So absolutely, I think they should focus on making sure they schedule these games in time slots where it's not being overshadowed by the NBA. But just as far as
I guess, how do you do that with there being like little WNBA teams versus NBA teams? I mean, and then on top of that, you have the schedule pushed back, so now you have to worry about the NBA and the NFL, and it's like those are the two major organizations. Like I'm saying,
I think we also have to take into consideration the access that people have to a WNBA game as well, because you now have to pay. Of course, like with WNBA Access, you would have to pay for that subscription, whereas you can watch an NFL game whenever. You could watch the NBA game whenever, because it's on the typical broadcasters, ESPN.
But they have WNBA games on ESPN as well. Like in the
league pass, they do, but it's very few. It's very few. But who has $17? We're in a pandemic. A lot of people are losing jobs. A lot of people don't have money to splurge on, like.
And a good amount of people have $17 if they want. Like the people. What I'm saying is, people have paid for NBA League Pass, and it costs a lot more.
Yeah,
I feel like they would
for sure.
To pay for
and you
that
want to
see
your specific team, especially these days. You got a lot of people who are just watching their specific team and aren't watching basketball
the rest of the series.
Yes, but with WNBA, I'm not sure how their TV deal lines up with the NBA, if it's all underneath one huge contract or not. But you can make certain WNBA games primetime, and they were aiming to do that before Sabrina Ionescu went down. They were aiming to do that, to make it primetime. So you make sure you stagger the NBA games and WNBA games to where, okay, this WNBA game is not going to be on at the same time of any NBA game. Because obviously most people are going to say, oh, let me go over and watch the NBA game, right? If just that WNBA game is televised and it's in between two, sandwiched in between two NBA games, great. Now you give them a chance to gain those viewers. I think that's important. So, and then again, just aside from that, let's get some money funneled down. I think Kyrie gave, $1 million or so? That's a big deal. And it's chump change to him when you think about it. Right. So,
we appreciate the donations.
That's the increase to a whole WNBA team. Even the coaches can get some of that, right? Kyrie, that didn't put it in his pocket. It's a write-off for him, honestly.
So Freddie, real quick, when you're saying that like you want to like I agree you need to figure out a way to I guess get the WNBA games featured more. Like, but I know like I watch the WNBA games on ESPN2 or ESPN. So like I know they were on, and then it's harder to showcase. Like you're going to get more viewers from the NBA games over the WNBA games, and there were more teams playing in the NBA than the WNBA. So it's like, what's a good way to I guess get around that, because you know what the moneymaker is in this scenario is it's the NBA, and you can market the WNBA as much as you want to, but I think scheduling it now is like their main priority is the NBA because it's the main like moneymaker. So
But
and
have to at some point. The WNBA is growing by each year, and that's why they were able to go from 75,000 average annual salary just a couple of years ago to doubling that to about 130,000 with that 53% raise. And I believe they had some labor riders in there as well. They did some good things, the health insurance involved and everything. So they're improving that situation. And the WNBA is just getting more and more popular. It's growing. It's not going to grow, of course, ridiculously, like, because there's no high flyer, no guy by the name of Michael Jordan yet. But we do have a Sabrina Ionescu who is, of course, she was hurt, so that did affect things, and the pandemic did as well. But the WNBA is growing. It's growing. It's growing. There's a lot of star power there right now. They're getting a lot of recognition for their political views on things. Honestly, they're not scared to get out in front of things.
Trailblazers of the political views.
They have always done this, and now they're doing it even more. They're being backed by everybody, so they're gaining, and especially in the social media world, there's clips all around. These girls got game, man. There's clips all around.
They're definitely gaining momentum.
Exactly. It's allowing them to grow, to be everywhere. So for the people who aren't watching their game specifically on TV, they're going to see a clip of Diana Taurasi crossing somebody over and pulling up in their face, right? They're seeing the super team. Now, I'm not going to say they're really super team because it's only about 12 teams, but they're seeing these. Look at the Mercury, Brittany Griner, Taurasi, and then they got Skylar. That's considered a super team in the WNBA. You look at the LA Sparks.
The Storm.
Yeah, exactly. You look at these teams that are stacked. I mean, even the Chicago Sky, they started the season off great. They looked amazing. I mean, you look at these teams, the WNBA has some teams that have immense talent, and they're going out and they're grabbing players. Simone Augustus gets traded. And it's just
the
like
Aces, the Sun, like there's a lot of teams out there.
I have to say my Aces.
Exactly. Same thing that happened with the NBA. They say, oh, these super teams are bad. No, people want to tune in and see what's going on with these stacked rosters. So I think WNBA is going to continue to grow, but they just have to be supported by the NBA.
Hey, little mama.
Oh, you want your phone? You got somebody to call. Oh,
that's our money manager, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. He's making me call somebody. I don't know who, but yeah. So it's.
I will say the WNBA is for sure backed by Twitter, wholeheartedly. Like anytime that you see any clips being shared and going all around through social media, it's always Twitter. So we got your back on Twitter, WNBA. We're gonna make sure we share. We're gonna make sure we put out all the good things that y'all are doing. Like on the court and off the court, we got you.
For sure.
But I think it's gonna have to be like something like a 5-year plan though. It's nothing like a quick fix.
Yeah.
Because you have because like, even if you think scheduling wise, you have March Madness, then you have playoffs, then you have football starting up. It's a very limited window where you can like actually get prime time. It's just you, and you could throw it off at the beginning of the NBA season, but you're going to run into the Super Bowl then, and you're not getting any traction. So it's going to be tough facing up against those three beasts, being the March Madness, the NBA, and you said, well, yeah, they're not. Yeah. They're not. So I think that's just a tough time, but you can make it work possibly. It's just.
Yeah. Look, no, I think two things I guess I have two separate things I want to say. One, pandemic is not going to allow them to grow as fast as they probably would have. So that's a immediate, in the immediate future, that's going to be a factor for every sport. The NBA cap just got affected by that.
Well,
and
I disagree. I only disagree because let's say if you throw in, like, if you start combining the NBA and the WNBA, like, for example, the league pass. If the league pass for the NBA is $100, well, why don't you make the league pass now $110 and you get the WNBA as well? So now you can still funnel money to the WNBA through the NBA, but now you're making it more enticing because it's only like $10 extra and you can get the WNBA as well, and you just make that as a promo or something like that. Like, I think that might be able to help you out in a way because, I think you have to merge the NBA and the WNBA together a little bit to get like the NBA a little more popular. I think, like Abby was saying, they gotta be marketing. So
you gotta infiltrate.
Yeah.
But no, I think another thing that kind of hurt the WNBA's trajectory in regards to them being more trending is, like, for me at least, growing up, watching the Olympics was like my prime time. Like, I could not wait for another 4 years to see all these greats on one team and just smashing every single country in the game of basketball. So with the Olympics right now kind of being like, looming over our heads, and we don't know what's going to really happen with the Olympics, right? So
well,
that I feel like
I want to go.
That's the thing. Like, the NBA is setting their schedule up so that it ends before what would be the event. But like I said, we don't fully know yet. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And like, for me, at least from my perspective, I feel like the Olympics is a huge time for them to get a lot of eyes, a lot of views, because America wants to support all their American teams unless they really care about another country's team that much. But of course, with basketball, especially with that being, like, to me, the top sport in the entire country in comparison, like, we could argue NFL versus NBA, but for me, obviously, because I'm a basketball head, I'm going to care more about the NBA than I do NFL.
Sure.
So with that,
you can make a case
with women's sports,
too.
Yeah, with baseball too. But for sure, at least in my perspective, I definitely think that the WNBA gets a lot more eyes, a lot more views when it comes to the Olympics than they do the regular season.
Yeah.
It's do you think the shortened season helps or hurt them? That 34 games. And the reason why I asked that is obviously part of the reason why their salaries have been lower is because it's 34 games. And then, of course, just the crowd is not as big. So just your gate is not as large and your merchandise doesn't sell as much. 12 teams, you don't have 30 teams. My math isn't the greatest, but I think that's like 40%, compared to 12 or 30, I don't know. So in other words, you'll have dang near 3 times the amount of teams in the NBA. And you obviously have a huger fan base, so you're able to pay more. And you're able to have longer seasons for that matter. 82 games versus 34 games. Is it, so from a financial standpoint, obviously it hurts, but does it, from a popularity standpoint, does it help? Because you see them for a stretch and then they're gone. Then you have to wait for them to come back for some months. Of course, they're overseas. Most people aren't watching WNBA players while they're playing overseas. So 34 games out of the year. To be honest,
I think it kind of hurts. I think it hurts their popularity in a sense of, like, sometimes with people who are following all sports and not just a certain gender sport, they might be, finishing up with one sport and they're like, oh wait, like, let me go check on the WNBA, and boom, they're almost done. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of, sometimes a lot of people are trying to play catch up, or they kind of miss the season, not on purpose, but of course, because the length of the season is so short, it's just like, okay, well, dang, like, it feels like it was there and then it's there, and it's just gone in a split second. So I think that they're losing out on their popularity in that sense.
Gotcha.
But again, like, the longer you make it, the season, then the higher chance you're going to have the ending run into the NBA playoffs, March Madness, the Super Bowl. Like, you have to have, like, I think the ideal time, if you're going to extend the season, would be to have the WNBA, like, end right before the playoffs, like the NBA playoffs. That's the only way to make the only situation. Like, that's the only perfect place I can think of for the WNBA, like, in terms of playoffs. And then you can have more games. That way you can add more marquee games to combat the NBA season. So now if they get this Tuesday, okay, that's fine. I see there's a Wednesday available. Because there are days where it's like, dang, bro, I do want a good little basketball game showing. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, oh, what's on True Food Network? Like, you know, like I kind of want to see a good game, and that's when you can add that type of situation in. But you have to worry about the ending situation. So, like I
What
said, that's my ideal situation, like a place for it.
from what is it, July till about August? August, July to beginning of September.
Something like it.
Where there's no real sports on, really. At least for me, as far as the sports that I watch, from July till the beginning of September, there's no football, there's no basketball. Of
Olympics.
course, I love boxing and UFC, so you get that, the big cards coming. Some cats like to fight during those big weekends over the summer. Aside from that, though, you're not getting sports every single day.
So what do you do during when Olympics come up then?
Not outside per se during the summer because they're out enjoying the weather. So maybe that's why they won't try to target that, of course, that window because, again, a lot of people are outside. Who's going to be inside watching a basketball game? Maybe, but I think they should try to take advantage of that, honestly. Why not?
That's summertime.
Yeah, take advantage of some of that. Olympics cut into things like that as well. And so
I don't know if they're gonna do that because of the Olympics though. Like it's every 4 years, granted, but like when it rolls up, okay, what happens? Do you prepare whereas you cut a season short now? Do you push it back, but then you're adding like less rest time for the WNBA players? I don't know if that's ideal enough for them. Like I'm sure WNBA players are going to want to go over there and play because, like I was saying, that they were pretty popular. Like, I mean, I don't follow football. I mean, I don't follow soccer like that, but I know who Megan Rapinoe is outside of Sue Bird. Like, I found out, like, oh, fun fact, she married, like, she was Sue. Oh, true. Like that. Like, I didn't know that. I knew her as the pink-haired soccer chick that had like a lot of swag and you know was talking trash on the soccer field. Like, oh, man, she's cool. Like, so I think being over there and getting that exposure is something that they don't want to miss out on because then that exposure can actually translate back over to the WNBA. So I don't know if that summertime is going to be good for them. Like maybe hosting like some tournaments or something where you don't have to play them in the summertime, or maybe you get like some of the rookie WNBA versus the rookie NBA. Like you can host something like that where you have WNBA versus NBA or co-ed games going on in the summertime where you can get more money and get more popularity like that. That's what I can see you doing during the summertime, where it's fun, it's exhibition, and it's like, oh, I missed out on this. I can't do it. Let me pass it off to my homegirl, my homeboy, and do it this way because I want to go play Olympics.
Gotcha. What do you think about that, Abby?
I agree. I agree with that, to be honest with you, because once we see, I think that's kind of what is needed is that demonstration of partnership. Because it's one thing to make a commercial about them from the NBA's perspective. It's one thing to be like, oh, we support our WNBA team, but it's another thing to like see it happening practically in our faces, like more events where they're sharing the spotlight, you know, just the men seeing the men, some men like Trey was saying earlier, like some basketball players, like you'll see them on Twitter, like posting about their fellow WNBA players. That's great, but I'd like to see y'all interact with each other too. You know what I mean? Like in person. So that way we can kind of see that camaraderie and that unity in
that fraternity
their programs. Yeah, like
gotcha.
Yeah, like it should be some sort of camaraderie outside of just posting about them or wearing WNBA shirts, and you know what I'm saying? Like being together, showing that partnership is going to be better than anything.
Right.
Now let me ask you both this. I agree they need to share some TV time. Like let's say for example, if Steph got like a cereal commercial going on. I'm doing that because I'm hungry right now. But let's say Steph got a cereal game going on, so a commercial going on.
It's all out.
He want to get him something a little right. No, it's cereal, baby. It's cereal. We got some.
Is it still cereal or is it soggy?
It's Apple Jacks and
it's soggy.
You've been over there for about 40
It's a little soggy, babe.
It's wet. Okay.
Look, worry about your side of the camera. Worry about your camera screen. All right, man. I'm good on my side. Hey.
You got
Anyways, like I said, if Steph
All
has some stereo commercials, and let's say Sabrina Ionescu, right? She's up there as well. How do you break out the financial breakdown then? Because to be fair, Steph's bringing in more viewers. You're like transferring over some of those viewers to Sabrina, but you're still bringing in the legwork. And I feel like, do you split that off 50-50? Do you give Steph like 80-20, 70-30? How do you like what would you guys think is fair? I can understand why you would say more or like 50-50 or whatever.
And I just want to make sure, and I'll let you answer first, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking. Is this in regards to funneling money from one NBA team to, let's say, the WNBA team that's in the same state, or what are you saying? Or is it just in regards to,
it's just like the aim is to get more attention to the WNBA. So you're trying to pair them with NBA stars. Because if you see an NBA star with the WNBA player, it's going to be like, oh, who's this? Like when I saw the
but are you actually from a sponsorship standpoint?
From the sponsorship standpoint, like would you break it off evenly 50-50 in terms of the amount of money that you're bringing in, or would you break it off in terms of, okay, well, Steph's bringing in this much compared to Sabrina? Like, what would you guys think is fair?
Do you want to answer that first?
I would look at the whole picture. Like Steph might be bringing in a certain amount of viewers because of his namesake and because of his, valor as a player. But look at the money he's making on other endorsements. You know what I mean? Like I think that it would be fair to ratio how much he's getting based on other endorsements that he already probably has that she doesn't have, if that makes sense. So that would make it more equal. But again, I mean, I'm no math whiz. I don't know all the logistics. I don't know what actually goes on behind the scenes, but that seems more fair to me, as if he's like, because they're both sharing the same spotlight. They both have the same amount of, words. Like they might not have the same pull from the audience because of who they are and because of their current presence in their respective leagues. But at the same time, if they're doing the same job, they're at the same place at the same time, he might have more endorsements that he could take a little bit less than she might need, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
But it's up to it also could just be up to a generosity thing. Steph might be like, you know what, I want her to have a little bit more of the dollars from this production because I already got enough. You know what I'm saying? So it could also just be like a point of the player being like, hey, I'm gonna be generous regardless.
Yeah. Now, from a endorsement standpoint, I always felt like that's more personal to the athlete because negotiating comes into play with that. You're agent and you are negotiating with these brands to where there's some incentives in there as well. So how many commercials are you going to do? How long is this contract going to be? What do you have to say when you're going to your interviews? You have to mention us 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times. So there's a lot of little things in these contracts. So I feel like if you have a sponsorship, you should just get whatever your deal is. And that other person just has to be as creative. Like you think about the State Farm when Chris Paul and James Harden used to have it. I think they had Trevor Ariza on one. There is no way in hell that Trevor Ariza got the same pay that those other 2 stars got for obvious reasons. Now, I'll just bring this back to that. So I think it can be if the corresponding WNBA team was, or even two, because again, I think there's about 40% of the teams in the WNBA compared to the NBA. Even if there's 2 teams, NBA teams per one WNBA team that are funneling some of their revenue, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, Kyrie Irving, $1 million. That's an amazing amount. Imagine 2 franchises that are, most of them are billion-dollar franchises, are funneling $1 million, $2 million down each year. It's not a huge loss. You get organizations who waste this on trash players. right?
Mm-hmm.
You get contracts that have certain incentives in there that gives you an extra 2 or 3 million. So you can funnel some of that down, and then that allows the WNBA to stay afloat and to, if they want to, let's say, not have to go overseas anymore and focus more on being in here. Granted, I think they should still take advantage of being able to go overseas, but in a situation like that, you don't know how long the pandemic is going to last. They're able to benefit financially still and not put themselves in financial risk, because they're not always going to be able to get the endorsements like the NBA players, like the NFL players. You think about, there's Joe Namath. I seen Joe Namath and Chris Berman on back-and-back commercials at the barbershop the other day. Joe Namath hasn't touched the football in probably 70-something years. I'm over-exaggerating, but you figure, wow, a WNBA player could have had that. They don't get the same opportunity. So just saying whatever happens with that is what happens. But as the NBA, this multi-billion-dollar industry business, let's funnel some of that money. 2 teams per WNBA team. Funnel some of that money down to these corresponding teams that are close to our city. Atlanta Dream, you got the Atlanta Hawks right there. Let's funnel some of that money over there. I think that'll be pretty beneficial. It's not going to hurt the NBA at all. It's going to help. If you, going back to what you said, Abby, if you really want to help. Don't just say support these girls. You set the tone and you support by helping, funneling some money to them.
Exactly.
Hand it back over to one of y'all.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think it should be a requirement, but I think it should be like an obligation. Like it's something you should do realistically, because like you said, in the grand scheme of things, like Steph makes how much, and the and then the WNBA makes how much, like, and that's just one player. Like so
every WNBA player.
Like he makes more. So it's just like
he's probably twice over.
It's he makes more. He makes more. I think it's like 40 to 25, 23, something like that. Yeah. So if you can give that to one player, you can do that. You realistically could give off like $5 million per team easily, and not break a sweat. And then, like I said, you can give like an exception, like a tax exemption or something like that. Like you can hit the luxury, you can take it off the luxury tax, something like that. Granted, give it like a limit, because you can't just give off like your whole luxury tax, or like cut that off and just give that to the WNBA. But make some incentive that it benefits the NBA as well. I think that would be something to explore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, all it takes is one person, one action to create change. So the same way that, we're all out here working on our own individual levels to affect change in regards to like Black Lives Matter and the racial issue that's going on in our country right now. It takes one person, takes one action to make a change in regards to equality amongst the 2 sports and amongst the 2 leagues. So at the end of the day, they have the ability to do it. It's just a matter of who's going to step up and do it. Who's going to initiate.
Have either one of you ever looked up how much an NBA ball boy makes annually?
I feel like I know how much. It's like I feel like it's like 60 to 80, something like that.
It's definitely north of 50,000 per year as a ball boy. Yes.
And you got me over here getting degrees to make less than that? I think not. Let me go catch a ball real quick.
Right.
I mean, but to be fair though, Abby, like I feel like the job security might not be that high, so you can easily be replaceable.
Oh, for sure.
Like that. Yeah. So I mean, and then especially in that world, like if I know somebody, oh yeah, he can do this. Let me slide him in real quick. See you, Joe. Like,
but isn't that, as an athlete, isn't that the same thing? Your job is on the line every single year, right?
Nah, it's like you bring in a lot more than a ball boy. Like I don't care about what the ball boy does at all. Like outside of him falling and making like sports funny, like outside of that, I don't really care. But if a basketball player is hooping, he gonna stay on that team. If he's not hooping, it might have been a bad year. Could have been his rookie year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas if you're a ball boy, I don't know how you mess that up. Like, you can. But if you're bad at your job,
you can. There's some embarrassing moments that I've seen recorded of some ball boys making some mistakes. So you can mess that up. There's an opportunity.
I don't know how, but I think mess ups are okay. Being a bad ball boy I don't know if like
What can you
how
do to?
how do you do that? Yeah, like and
I'm
I
still hung
also
up on the dollar
Water
amount.
boys. I've seen
I'm just
water
hung up
boys.
on the dollar amount, period. Because my mama over here, my Jamaican mama over here talking about some, girl, and if you get your degree, and if you get 2 degree, and if you get 3 degree, just to make 50K, and my homie over there catching balls for 60.
For 60, handed out water for 60, living a good old life. Probably driving a nice Benz, going to a nice place.
Oh, and he gonna finesse like a couple of pictures, autographs, and stuff from the players.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? He can go to the bar and be like, yeah, baby girl, I know LeBron, you feel me? I catch the balls for him. I catch the balls for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Freddie, did you ever look up how much, what's the age range for the ball boys?
No, but I'm sure, well, there's younger kids who do it as well. Now, I'm sure they don't get of course, you can't get paid if you're.
Their parents probably pocket
at least in this state, I believe it's 14. You have to be 14 or older to legally work. It's 14 or 15. I had to double check. So there's kids younger than that are ball boys. So I'm sure they get something like free tickets or their parents may get something, but.
I'm more talking about the cutoff date. Like if I shaved off my facial hair and tried to go in as like a teenager, are they signing it? Are they signing your boy or not?
You know what's crazy?
You could pass for 12. You could pass for 12 if you take off all your facial hair.
I missed.
You just be a big old 12.
I missed what he said. My screen froze, so I missed your joke.
Oh,
no, I said
he was talking about cutting off his facial hair.
Okay. Yeah, like so, the cutoff age. Like, is there a cutoff age? Because like, if I could shave off my facial hair and then do that,
he's trying to switch careers.
If I could do that and then meet some actual NBA players, finesse that, get a couple of signatures, I can get about 5 stacks off a signature.
Hey man, you know what? Just go in there and shave your facial hair off right now. Then make a decision.
Not even about the 5 stacks.
I have pictures. I have pictures of that, so I'm not gonna do that no more.
Imagine the clout. Imagine the clout you could get off of just being a ball boy.
Hi guys, I'm a Wizards ball boy.
You got people who are making careers on YouTube off of clout. Okay, yes. If they are ball boys making 60K, you could make an extra 20K a month just from clout on YouTube. So what's our closeout? We never actually really talked about that.
We did not talk about a closeout.
Well, everybody, we've done it. We just cleaned up.
well, everybody, that's the end of the show. No, I'm joking.
Right.
You're so weak.
All right, well, we'll be back, guys. We're going to have a lot to talk about. I don't know. We do have to figure out a close, though. That is going to be very important.
I mean, Abby, I feel like that's going to be your job. Like, no? Yes? No? You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think of something. I can't think of anything that's like clever to go along with.
Well, we don't need
some soap and,
We could, no. I was gonna say something real corny, but like, yeah, never mind. We could do like a countdown, like how
mops in the water wet.
You know how like teams be like 3, 2, 1 break, or like 3, 2, 1 team or whatever. We could do that, and then like have that be the ending. But it would be it'd have to be like a synchronized countdown, or somebody does it, and then we just say break it. It sounds stupid, like kind of, sort of, but you can also make it work too. But I already can tell by the energy, y'all not really rocking with it.
Yeah.
All right, well, look, I guess we just gonna wrap this up, man. Well, we're gonna come back with y'all next episode, I promise you, with a solid ending, bro. But,
oh boy.
Oh boy. It's been real. It's been real. Abby, did you got anything you want to say to everybody?
Peace to the Middle East.
All right. Freddie, how about yourself?
I don't have anything to say. Just be sure to tune in. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Keep your eyes open as we will be making announcements in regards to our first official release, first episode. Stay tuned. Look forward to you guys tuning in to what we have to say each and every day.
That was a lot for you. Had nothing to say. I just wanted to throw that out. I, I got nothing to say. I'm gonna show y'all how that actually look like. Hope y'all have a good one.
Oh boy.
See y'all.